In the vast and colourful world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a series renowned for its eccentric characters and even more eccentric villains, Yoshikage Kira stands out as one of the most fascinating and enigmatic antagonists in this series. Kira, the main villain of Diamond is Unbreakable, also known as Part 4, is a unique breed of villain, one who doesn't seek out world domination or revenge, but rather a quiet, undisturbed life. This essay will delve into what makes Yoshikage Kira such an intriguing and likable character, breaking down the aspects of his personality, motivations, and the impact he has had on the series. Through these facets, Kira emerges as not just a villain, but a character who challenges the very notion of what it means to be evil in the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yoshikage Kira's primary goal is simple: to live a peaceful and quiet life. Unlike many villains in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, who are driven by grand ambitions or intense hatred, Kira's motivations are surprisingly mundane. He doesn't desire power or wealth, he merely wants to avoid attention and continue his existence without disruptions. This makes him a stark contrast to other JoJo villains like Dio or Pucci, whose ambitions are grandiose and world-altering. Kira's simplicity in his desires makes him oddly relatable. Despite his sinister actions in a world filled with flamboyant and over-the-top characters, Kira's reserved nature is refreshing, adding a layer of realism to his character that many fans find appealing. Kira's desire for a normal life is juxtaposed with his dark, murderous tendencies. He meticulously crafts his life to avoid suspicion, going so far as to change his identity when his cover is blown. This duality, being a deadly killer who's also yearning for normalcy, creates a complex character that is both terrifying and compelling. The lengths he goes to protect his privacy, such as killing those who threaten to expose him, only adds to the intrigue surrounding his character. Kira's obsession with maintaining his quiet life, even at the cost of others' lives, demonstrates how deeply ingrained his need for normalcy is, making him a villain whose evil is not born out of malice, but out of a twisted, self-serving sense of preservation. Furthermore, Kira's understated nature allows him to blend into the town of Morio seamlessly, making him a hidden threat that lurks in the shadows. His ability to go unnoticed for so long adds a layer of suspense and tension to Diamond is Unbreakable, as the protagonists struggle to uncover his identity. This aspect of his character plays on the fear of the unknown, the idea that most dangerous individuals are the ones who don't stand out. Kira's ability to hide in plain sight makes him a more frightening villain because it challenges the notion that evil is not always obvious or flamboyant. Instead, it can be quiet, unassuming, and lurking right next door. One of the most defining and bizarre aspects of Yoshikage Kira's character is his obsession with women's hands. This sick fetish is not just a superficial quirk, but also a deeply grained part of his psyche, representing both his meticulous nature and his detachment from normal human relationships. Kira's fixation on hands is symbolic of his desire for control and perfection. Hands, in their ability to create, manipulate, and destroy, are extensions of one's will, and Kira's obsession with them suggests a deeper, psychological need to dominate and possess something he views as flawless. This fetish also serves to highlight Kira's isolation from society. His inability to form meaningful relationships and connections with people leads him to objectify them, reducing them to mere body parts that he can admire and keep as trophies. This dehumanization is a key factor in what makes Kira such a chilling villain, where he doesn't see his victims as people with lives and families, but as objects that serve his twisted, sick desires. This cold detachment from humanity is what allows him to murder those without remorse, further solidifying his role as a sociopath who values his own desires above all else. Additionally, Kira's hand fetish adds an element of grotesque fascination to his character, where it's not enough that he's just a killer, his unusual obsession makes him stand out in the minds of fans. This peculiar trait is both repulsive and intriguing, compelling viewers to delve deeper into understanding the psyche of a man who finds beauty in something so macabre. The fetish, while disturbing, is integral to Kira's identity and adds a layer of complexity to his character that elevates him from a simple villain to a psychologically rich antagonist. Kira's stand, Killer Queen, is a reflection of his personality. Deadly, efficient, and obsessed with cleanliness, Killer Queen's primary ability to turn anything it touches into a bomb mirrors Kira's desire to eliminate any threat to his peaceful life swiftly and without a trace. The stand's power is both terrifying and elegant, much like Kira himself. It allows him to deal with his enemies in a manner that leaves no evidence behind, aligning perfectly with his need for a quiet, unobtrusive life. Killer Queen's design and abilities further emphasizes Kira's meticulous nature. The stand is sleek, with a design that's both menacing and refined, much like Kira's outward appearance. Its abilities are not flashy or chaotic, but rather precise and controlled, much like Kira's approach to life. The way Kira uses Killer Queen is methodical, often involving elaborate plans to ensure that his actions go unnoticed. This strategic use of his stand adds to his threat level, as he is not only powerful but also intelligent and calculated in his approach. Moreover, Killer Queen's additional abilities, such as Sheer Heart Attack and Bites the Dust, showcase Kira's adaptability and his increasing desperation to maintain his secret life. Sheer Heart Attack is an automatic, unstoppable force, representing Kira's ruthlessness when cornered, when Bites the Dust allows him to rewind time, giving him a second chance to correct mistakes and maintain his facade. These abilities make Kira a formidable opponent, as they not only demonstrate his raw power, but also his ability to maintain situations to his advantage. Killer Queen therefore is not just a tool for Kira, but also an extension of his very being, embodying his lethal efficiency and obsessive desire for control. One of the most thrilling aspects of Yoshikage Kira's character is the extended cat and mouse game he plays with the protagonists of Diamond is Unbreakable. Unlike many other villains who confront their enemies head-on, Kira prefers to stay in the shadows, avoiding direct confrontation whenever possible. This makes his encounters with Josuke and his friends all the more tense, as they must uncover his identity and whereabouts before he can strike again. Kira's elusive nature makes the battle against him as much of a psychological struggle as it is a physical one, adding layers of suspense and intrigue to the overarching narrative. The slow reveal of Kira's true identity is masterfully executed, with each encounter peeling back another layer of his character. Kira's ability to evade capture for so long speaks to his cunning and intelligence. He is always one step ahead, constantly adapting to the changing circumstances to protect his secret life. This ongoing game of cat and mouse keeps viewers on the edge of their seats as the stakes continue to rise with each close call. Kira's ability to remain hidden despite the hero's best efforts makes him a formidable and frightening opponent, as he proves time and time again that he is not to be underestimated. Additionally, the psychological warfare that Kira engages in adds depth to his character. He is not just physically dangerous, he is also a master manipulator, able to instill fear and uncertainty in his enemies. The tension between Kira and the protagonist is not just about physical survival, but also about maintaining one's sanity in the face of an enemy who is always watching and always waiting. This aspect of Kira's character makes him a uniquely terrifying villain, as he forces the heroes to question not just their strength, but their very perception of reality. Despite his heinous actions, Yoshikage Kira is also a tragic figure, a man who was a product of his own twisted desires and the environment that has shaped him. Unlike other villains who are driven by external circumstances, Kira's evil comes from within, from a deep-seated need for control and perfection. This internal struggle makes him a more nuanced character, as his actions are not simply the result of malice, but of a profound psychological disturbance. Kira's obsession with hands and his need for a quiet life suggests a deep loneliness and a desire for connection, albeit in the most twisted, most fetishistic way possible. Kira's backstory, while not extensively explored, hints at a life of isolation and repression. His obsession with hands can be seen as a manifestation of his inability to form real relationships, leading him to objectify and possess the things he cannot truly connect with. This makes him a pitiable figure, as his actions, while horrific, stem from a deep-seated need for control over a life that he feels is slipping away from him. The tragedy of Kira lies in the fact that he is a man who could never reconcile his desires with the world around him, leading him down a path of destruction that ultimately consumes him. Moreover, Kira's downfall is a direct result of his inability to change, despite his many attempts to maintain his facade. Kira is ultimately undone by his own obsessions. His need for control and perfection leads him to take increasingly desperate measures, which only serve to draw more attention to himself. This inability to adapt or accept change is what ultimately seals his fate, making him a tragic figure who is doomed by his own nature. Kira's tragic end serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession and the human need for control, themes that resonate deeply with audiences. In another life, Yoshikage Kira could have been a hero. His intelligence, meticulous nature, and desire for a peaceful life are traits that could have been channeled into something positive. However, his inability to control his darker impulses and his refusal to engage with the world around him in a healthy way led him down the path of villainy. This dichotomy makes Kira a more compelling character, as he represents the fine line between good and evil, and how easily one can slip from one side to the other. Kira's potential for good is evident in his methodical approach to life. He is not a villain who acts on impulse, but one who plans and considers every action with careful thought. This trait, in a different context, could have made him an excellent strategist or leader. However, his inability to empathize with others and his obsessive nature turns these strengths into weaknesses. Kira's downfall is a result of his failure to use his talents for anything other than self-preservation, making him a character who is both admirable for his intelligence and pitiable for his lack of humanity. This idea of Kira as a fallen hero adds depth to his character and makes his story more tragic. He's not a villain who is born from evil, but one who has allowed his darker impulses to consume him. This makes him a cautionary figure, showing how even those with the potential for greatness can be led astray by their own flaws. Kira's story serves as a reminder of the importance of self-awareness and the dangers of allowing one's obsession to dictate their actions. Yoshikage Kira's presence in Mario has a profound impact on the town and its residents, turning what appears to be a peaceful, idyllic community into a place of fear and suspicion. Kira's murders shatter the illusion of safety in Mario, forcing the protagonists to confront the darkness that lies beneath the town's surface. With this transformation of Mario from a safe haven to a haunting hunting ground adds a layer of tension to Diamond is Unbreakable, as the characters must navigate a world where danger lurks around every corner and could come from anywhere. Kira's impact is felt not only in the physical sense through the murders he commits, but also in the psychological toll he takes on the town's residents. His ability to blend in with society and evade capture for so long creates an atmosphere of paranoia, as anyone could be the next victim. This fear and uncertainty permeate the narrative, making Kira's presence felt even when he is not on screen. His influence over Mario is a testament to his power as a villain, as he manages to control the town without ever revealing his true identity. Furthermore, Kira's actions force the protagonists to grow and evolve in ways that may not have otherwise. The threat he poses pushes Josuke and his friends to their limits, both physically and mentally, as they struggle to protect their town from a seemingly insurmountable and unstoppable force. Kira's presence acts as a catalyst for the characters' development, challenging them to become stronger and more determined in their quest for justice. In this way, Kira's impact on Mario is not only negative, but also positive, as it brings out the best in the heroes and forces them to rise to the occasion. The climax of Kira's story arc in Diamond is Unbreakable is one of the most satisfying and well-executed moments in the series. Despite his meticulous and careful planning, as well as careful evasion, Kira's downfall is inevitable, a result of his own hubris and the relentless pursuit of justice by Josuke and his friends. The final confrontation between Kira and the protagonists is a culmination of all the tension and suspense that has been building throughout the series. Kira's downfall in particular is poignant because it is not just a result of external forces, but also his own internal flaws. His obsession with maintaining his quiet life leads him to make increasingly reckless decisions, which ultimately expose him to the very people he was trying to avoid. This self-destructive behavior highlights the tragic nature of Kira's character, as he is ultimately undone by the very things that define him. The final battle against Kira is not just a physical confrontation, but also a deeply psychological one, as the protagonists must outwit and outmaneuver a villain who has always been one step ahead. The manner in which Kira meets his end is also symbolic of his character. His death is not a grand or heroic one, but rather a quiet, almost mundane events that reflect his desire for a peaceful life. In the end, Kira does not go out in a blaze of glory, but rather fades into obscurity, a fitting end for a character who wanted nothing more than to live unnoticed. This final moment is a powerful reminder of the futility of Kira's quest for control and the inevitable consequences of his actions. Yoshikage Kira is a villain who defies many of the traditional tropes associated with antagonists in anime and manga. With his desire for a quiet life, his obsession for control, and his psychological complexity makes him one of the most interesting and memorable characters in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Kira's story is one of tragedy, obsession, and the consequences of living a life driven by fear and the need for perfection. His presence in Diamond is Unbreakable elevates the series, adding depth and tension to the story, and his impact on the world of JoJo's will be felt long after his story has ended. In the end, Kira is more than just a villain, he is a reflection of the darker aspects of human nature, a character who embodies the fine line between normalcy and madness, with his legacy as one of the most interesting and likable villains in JoJo's being well deserved, as he challenges viewers to reconsider their understanding of what it truly means to be evil. Through Kira, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure explores the complexities of the human psyche, making him a character who is not only fascinating to watch, but also deeply thought-provoking.